Today I'm joined by a lady who's turning the tables on tinnitus, Anne Hogarth. She's devised a game-changing brain-based methodology that's helping people find real relief where conventional approaches fall flat. Whether you're living with tinnitus or working with clients who are, Anne's work challenges the old assumptions and offers something genuinely new in the world of ethical hypnotherapy. This conversation's packed with fresh thinking, real hope and practical innovation. Let's dive in right now, all on today's Professional Hypnotherapist podcast. Anne Hogarth, thanks for joining me today on the Professional Hypnotherapist podcast. I do appreciate you being with me here today.
Very kind of you, thank you.
And of course, you're a audiologist with many years of experience, specializing in tinnitus. You're a master's in cognitive behavioral therapy and a hypnotherapist and a valued member of the European Association of Professional Hypnotherapists.
That's correct, yes. Rather a lot to go through here.
Now, you recently gave the EAPH.ie, the European Association of Professional Hypnotherapists, hereinafter referred to as the EAPH.ie. You gave us a training, actually an excellent training on using hypnotherapy to treat tinnitus, tinnitus reduction, etc. So that was really went done very well, and it's upon that I will ask you to, give us the benefit of your experience by doing a podcast.
I'm really delighted to get the word out there, to be quite honest. I'm very excited.
Great. And the research, Anne, tell us about the research that you have been involved in terms of coming up with your methodology, for dealing and working with tinnitus reduction.
Well, it all started with, obviously, as hearing aid audiologist, doing all the training with that. I became a fellow of both the British and the Irish Society. I was doing 50 odd hours of CPDs every year, but tinnitus was something I'd always been very interested in because it was so different and there was no cure. But GPs all said, sorry, no cure. So during the course of the training, and I was over in America doing training. I was in UCL, I was in Cambridge, training up as getting as much information as I could about audiology in general. And during the course of that, I had an accident and couldn't use my left hand, couldn't put my fingers together. So I was sort of pointed in the direction of hypnotherapy, started on a hypnotherapy course with Joe Keeney down in the Marino in Dublin. And that was in 2008. And by then, everything that had ever been published about tinnitus, I read. I had looked at every piece of research, and it all said hypnotherapy is a good idea. So I thought, right, that's the way we'll go. Joe Keeney fixed my fingers, my finger and thumb, so I was okay to go back to doing handling the tiny little hearing aids and repairing them. I mean, the wires, when I repaired hearing aids, the wires inside are the thickness of a hair. So you can imagine if your thumb doesn't work and your finger, you can't do it. Anyway, the tinnitus still was foremost in what I was doing. And slowly but surely, more research said, yeah, hypnotherapy is good, but CBT is even better. So I took a master's in CBT. And in between times, I also quickly took a certificate in a certificate to allow me to teach how to do relaxation at a deep level. Anyway, mindfulness at its best. After I'd done all that, and with another little blip in between, I lost my sight. I actually lost my sight at one point because I had cataracts, had them replaced. The film they left turned opaque and I couldn't see. And that was another, it was like the universe has been pushing me all the way through. I couldn't see properly. It was all grey and just movement. And when I got my eyes fixed again, I realised during that time, I had no memory. There was no memory of what happened. I couldn't remember faces because I couldn't see them clearly. Voices, I couldn't place voices. Nothing stuck in the memory banks. That was like about 3 months. Anyway, from there, I had my eureka moment. Suddenly I thought, all this business of tinnitus, I've been to every research lecture possible, attended online and in person, and it was all about what goes on inside the brain, inside the body. And with the CBT, I discovered the vagus nerve, the polyvagal, fight, fright, or freeze. And then I thought, oh my goodness, of course. When we actually go through teaching someone how to use their hearing aids for the first time, or if they haven't heard for a long time, in the manuals that you handed out to the client, and also what I used to go through was that every sound would be really loud. They'll all be startle sounds. And that startle sound is what happens when the autonomic system comes into play and the sympathetic system gets alerted. The freeze, the flight freeze, or what's the other one? The freeze flight. Oh my goodness! I'm so excited about this. Anyway, the symptom that comes into play suddenly, your whole body's on red alert. Half your body functions stop working because of the polyvagal system. It sends message to the stomach, stop digesting, because if you do, you haven't got enough energy to run.
Yeah.
So when we go through all of that, suddenly it is exactly the same as what people complain about feeling when they've got tinnitus. They're anxious, they're on edge the whole time, their emotions are all over the place. It was just something that absolutely stuck with me. That's the missing link. Then I started finding recent articles, and apparently they've discovered that in the hippocampus, it's like a double structure, one that takes in memories as they happen, and then before they're filed away into the memory banks, the brain sifts through them and decides where they go, cross-references them to previous sounds and sights and smells, etc., cross-references them before they file them into the big filing system. So what happens with the tinnitus is that sound hasn't got anything to cross-reference it to. So it stays in this heightened state of alert stage where it can't go anywhere because there's nothing to cross-reference it to. And this is where hypnotherapy is the only answer. Because I know recently I heard that regression is no longer popular in hypnotherapy. Well, it's something that every hypnotherapist uses because that's how you access the subconscious.
Is that the freeze that we are talking about when you become stuck? Is that what we're talking about? When that memory becomes frozen or almost it doesn't know where to go, as you said.
Yes, it's got nowhere to go. There's nowhere where the brain can file it away because the sound is in the head. It's a sound that no one else can hear. It's in the head, and the person that's hearing it is constantly on a state of alert. The same way as if you were walking through a wood, dark wood, and a twig broke beside you, you're immediately looking round and you're looking to see where the sound comes from, Because once you see what makes the sound and you say, oh, it's just a wee squirrel, fine, no problem, file it away. Squirrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
The shape of a squirrel comes into your mind, an image, file it away. If, on the other hand, the sound remains, you will walk through that wood at a faster rate, a lot faster rate, because it's unknown. So you get away from the sound as much as you can. With tinnitus, there's no getting away from it. It's in the head. It's constant, or at least it's perceived to be constant, but it's not actually constant.
Okay.
This is, yeah.
Now, you mentioned in the training, and a really important point, I thought it was noteworthy. You don't need ears to have tinnitus, but you do need a brain.
That's right, because it's all in the head. The tinnitus is all within the head. It activates the same part of the brain as false limb syndrome, phantom limb syndrome, where the limb is gone, but you still have sensations. And that's the same part of the brain, because it is unknown what it's actually all about. It's a sound that's in the head. Personally, I believe that it's the oral system's way of sending pain messages to the brain, that there's damage somewhere in the oral system.
Right.
The damage can be repaired, but the tinnitus remains because it's heightened the activity in the sympathetic system. You need the parasympathetic system to allow things to go back to normal, but it's not getting a chance because it's constantly on alert, because there's no way of knowing where the sound's coming from. So
yes,
with therapy, we access the subconscious. We find out exactly what the sound is nearest to, and that image, like if I say to you right now, whatever you do, don't think about the elephant. You'll immediately get an image of an elephant in your head. That goes without saying. If I say to you, a cat meows, you will see a cat as you hear the sound in your memory banks coming forward. The sound and so it's very much a case of that we need an audio and a visual to be able to file things away. In fact, there was a recent piece of research that I read about cross-modal interaction between auditory and visual input impacts memory retrieval, which that paper says it all. You need both. So if you can access the memory banks and bring back memories of something that's similar, you will get a visual image, you will get a whole lot of other additional things, like if it was a rose, you not only get the image of the rose in your mind, but you also get the smell of the rose. You also get the feel of the rose, the prickles on it, the thorns on a rose. So it's all cross-referenced in a certain area in your brain. So
is that what
you do is
I beg your pardon, sorry. Is that what might be we may call a synesthesia of some sort?
Yes, absolutely. Every single sense we have is all cross-referenced before it can be slotted away into the right place, because our memory banks from the day we're born, in fact, from before we're born, is collecting memories. And that collection of memories, research has shown that that's us building up a massive library so that we have so much input for our own safety. And as we know, Maslow's triangle, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety and security is the second most important thing in our lives. And that's why we build up all these memories, so that we can keep ourselves safe in every eventuality. We rely on our parents, on our caregivers to begin with, to assist us in that, but eventually we get out in the big bad world and we've got to be safe. That's why tinnitus is so distressing. I mean, it's so distressing that some people have suicide ideation because of it. They can't live with it anymore.
Now, excellent, Anne. Thank you so much for this information. Now, out there in the world, you probably have some statistics about the numbers of people or do you, but who are suffering tinnitus? What would you say is a rough estimate, would say?
17% of the population. At
Okay.
this moment in time, about 3,500 people in Ireland alone are absolutely driven to distraction. Their lives are completely out of control because of distress and symptoms of tinnitus. They can't sleep, they can't eat, they are really in distress, heightened state of anxiety, and yes, suicide ideation. Although research shows that very few people actually do take that to the worst case scenario, pure and simply without a comorbid mental issue. So we're talking about it becomes really bad. But the weird thing about tinnitus is when you're doing something you really enjoy, like if you're laughing, you don't hear your tinnitus. If you're doing something you enjoy, you don't hear your tinnitus. Because
Yes, that's interesting, isn't it?
the medical profession are all trying to find some form of medication that's going to calm it down.
Yeah.
Well, how do you calm down a complete alert system in the body? Yeah, feed it tranquilizers, anything that'll calm it down. No, the person that's hearing this sound will continue to hear it. Hearing aids sometimes help people, but you take them out at night to go to bed, and what happens? Oh, there's the tinnitus back again. So you can't get rid of it through any mechanical means, no gadgets, no gizmos, no medication, absolutely nothing that will work except for hypnotherapy.
And what about the the audio programs that are available that are being pushed out there? What's your take, having many years as an audiologist? What's your
Right.
take on that, please?
Oh, I was there at the very start when digital hearing aids first came in, and I saw a lot of people having to leave the profession because they couldn't handle computers. They weren't computer literate. So the old analog ones, you just fitted them and that was it. You could turn the sound up and down. The digital ones allowed us to then reprogram hearing aids and put on a special program. You just click a button or use your phone and it fetches a background noise, white noise, which sounds great because it was just above the sound of the tinnitus. So you could turn it up if necessary. So that sort of masked the tinnitus. I will say to you, that is a sticking plaster. If you get a cut, you put a sticking plaster on it, it stops the bleeding, but it doesn't heal the wound. The body heals the wound, the brain heals the wound. That's exactly the same with the tinnitus maskers. Widex, we're in conjunction with Robert Sweeto from University of California. Robert came up with this fantastic idea of fractal tones. They produced a thing called Zen music that was pure and simply fractal tones. If you're looking for it on the web, it's Widex Zen music. And what happens is that it's what I call plunky music. It keeps the brain busy, focusing on the sound in the background, and it means that you can't do two things at once normally when you're, there's only special people that can actually listen to two different things at the same time. So the result is that it helped mask, but it was in a different way. It gave you a pleasant tune because white noise can actually cause tinnitus. Constant in your ear, yeah, that can cause tinnitus, or it can cause it to get worse. The fractal tones were much more pleasant. And even for somebody who hasn't got tinnitus, it's brilliant if you want to focus on something really strongly and cut out all the background noise. Use the Zen tunes. It doesn't leave a music worm in your head. You cannot get a tune from it because it's just notes that harmonize, but no tune. So it means that annoying song that keeps replaying in your head doesn't happen. So the result is that I would advise that for anybody, especially if you're studying. Fantastic for studying, because it lets you focus entirely on what you're doing. But the tinnitus maskers, there's all sorts of things that have been brought out, like the water music. Well, okay, the sound of waves crashing or the sound of a waterfall. Yeah, but what happens when you hear water? First thing you do is go toilet call. So every one of them has its disadvantage and can be very annoying.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, beg your pardon.
oh, yes, I used to use the maskers, but not very often, because that didn't help the person who was suffering from all the anxiety.
Yeah.
They needed help to lower their anxiety levels.
Mm-hmm. No, but the real cure, if you want to call it, or the real what would you call it, intervention, is to use an expression, to unthaw the freeze.
Yes, well, it is, because once you start delving in with deep relaxation in trance and go into the subconscious, then you get the person to fetch back memories, good positive memories attached to that sound. A perfect example. It doesn't happen. You've got to be a bit investigative. You've got to be really on the ball with it and listen to the person, what he's saying or her. I had one that said it sounded like a radiator bleeding. Well, to most people that have never bled a radiator, that's sort of foreign. But this chap in particular said it just sounded like a radiator bleeding. So what did I do? He's bled radiators. So I took him to one that was particularly difficult and asked him to describe it. Describe the room, describe everything about it, describe exactly what's going on with the radiator. Where are his tools? Are to the left or right? What tools has he got? And he brought them all back in vivid detail, because that memory was in his subconscious. Because he had the sound of the radiator, I then asked him, how did it feel when you got it to bleed? And he was wild, he was excited about it. Oh, it was great. And he was telling everybody that he managed to get it. That was all I needed to do, because that was all they needed to put a visual with that sound, and the brain does the rest.
Mm-hmm.
But also use the tinnitus from then on as a signal. You know, the tinnitus, you'll hear it from time to time, because everybody in this world would be able to hear the tinnitus if they wanted to. An experiment many, many years ago placed students, all perfect hearing students, into an anechoic chamber that was deprived of all sounds and everything.
It'll drive you mad, and that can drive you crazy.
Yeah, but
the absence of sound.
It allows you to hear your tinnitus.
Yes.
Some actually experienced tinnitus. Some of them, unfortunately, it didn't go away.
Yeah.
It is an amazing thing. That's what makes me think it's pain stimulus. Because if all these students could hear it, it was the brain learning that there was something wrong with the hearing, because hearing is absolutely essential for safety. If you can't hear, then you lose your sense of safety. You have no idea what's creeping up behind you. It could be a massive lorry coming your direction.
Absolutely.
So it is very, very important. But yes. Using the tinnitus from then on, anytime you hear your tinnitus, using it as a signal, a trigger. Oh, there's my tinnitus back. Time for me to sit down and relax, take time out. That's where the mindfulness comes in. Because what I used to do, because I am at this moment no longer practicing. COVID killed my practice. With COVID, I have a big clinic here, and to actually do what I was doing, which was testing hearing, and then hypnotherapy on the client. And it meant that you had to be in close proximity, sitting beside them for up to an hour to an hour and a half. And that was totally banned in the profession. You could have 15 minutes and that was it. So that would close me down completely. But yeah, you use that trigger as a trigger and it says, time to relax. And when you relax, one of the things I used to do was I used to say to them, doesn't matter where you are, you can relax. Even if you're standing in a queue, perfect time. You just stand there, find an object, focus on it, then look at the shadows round about. Ignore the object, but the shadows. Look at the shadows and analyze them and see what colors you can see in the shadows. And it is the most amazing, relaxing thing to do. And you do suddenly, you realize that light reflects the color, a little bit of color from every object against the wall. That's why I've got these things. I've got my ball that twists like that up against the wall. People can automatically see the color reflected on the wall. That's, I mean, that was one of the amazing things for people who are suffering depression as well. Depressive people see things in praise, but when you use color and they start to see the color, the depression lifts. It's psychologically something.
Absolutely. In your research and indeed your experience, now if this is appropriate to ask, I'll ask it, but if it's not, you don't have research, but I think for someone of your experience, you probably have covered every avenue. The question is, in your opinion and in your professional opinion, to what extent is orthodox medicine drugs, to what extent are they are they covering up the real, or what effect do they have on tinnitus? They may dampen it, but go ahead.
Medication has its place, but not with tinnitus. If one person was to take a low dosage dispersible aspirin every day for life, it would have no effect. The next person takes one low dose of aspirin and they immediately have tinnitus, ototoxicity, and a lot of medication cause ototoxicity. Research that I read up not that long ago was that people who have chemotherapy, 100% of them have problems with their oral system and tinnitus. And the funny thing about it, one of the things that I absolutely adored the team from the UK, from Cambridge University. David Bagley was, unfortunately, he's passed on now. But he was Mr. Tinnitus Man, as far as I was concerned. They discovered, him and his team, that if you cut the auditory nerve, tinnitus persists.
Right.
It doesn't affect the tinnitus.
Yes.
So it's...
you see, and there's so much emphasis, nowadays on the ear. It's all about the ear and about, just because we associate obviously hearing with our ears, but the truth is it's very little, if nothing, to do with your ear.
No, that's it. I mean, in the talk, I actually showed a size. I don't think I've got one here now. The size of a cochlea.
Yeah.
A little life-size cube with a cochlea, and it is tiny, and yet it is so incredibly important, because that's where all our balance comes from as well.
Yeah.
But the oral system, it starts with sounds coming in, but when it gets into the brain, into the auditory cortex and up, then what happens is that you suddenly you forget about the ear, because it's all something that's happening to the emotions inside. a funny thing, a strange thing that you'll probably resonate with you. I'm a strong advocate that anything through electrical means, any like telephone calls, like Zoom call we're doing right now, we are actually just remastered lights on, lights off. That's all we are. What we're seeing, what we're hearing, what we hear is an electronic signal coming through. It's not our voice. And with hearing aids, they've been working on it, trying to change it, but the sounds that you hear through a hearing aid are electronically remastered sounds, and they haven't got emotion attached.
Yeah, that's really important because, as you said, we're just merely an electronic representation, dots and dots on a screen. Whereas what you're talking about, Anne, is getting to the root cause.
That's right, and it's in the head. It's actually
Yeah.
in here. It's the emotions that are attached that need to be adjusted. One of the things I used to always say to people was that, getting back to the startle effect, when you hear a sound, what you've got to do is, if it's a loud sound, go and see where the sound is coming from. People that hadn't worn hearing aids for a long time, what they would do is they'd get them in and they would the autonomic system's in play and the sympathetic system has come into play, where everything's a startle sound, a jumping. You'll notice what I was doing there, turning around, because you could have a visual on what's making the sound to be able to assess whether it's danger or not. And that's exactly what happens. With tinnitus, you're constantly in that agitated. I always used to say to people, excuse me. I always used to say to people, do you sometimes have sore thigh muscles? Do the muscles in your legs sometimes hurt? And they look at you still, you've got, yeah, yes, yeah, because you're in flight mode.
Yeah.
That's you constantly in flight mode. But you said about the medications. There's the amount of medications that have been tried. It is a multi-million pounds worth of research waiting for the big breakthrough that's going to conquer tinnitus through medication. It will never happen. How can you startle sound through medication? They've tried everything. They've tried zapping the various nerves. They electrocute the various nerves. It's like mild ECT. it's a horrendous situation. When in actual fact, it's all to do with emotions.
Yes.
Because the emotions are what give the startle sound. When somebody gives you a fright, it's an emotional outburst.
Yeah.
And it's about emotions. You cannot medicate emotions, not to that extent. Get to the root of it.
Anne. Yeah.
Start the tinnitus. Do you know how long tinnitus has been recognised?
No, tell us.
Since medieval times and before. BC, 2000 years BC, there was actually a mention of it. Tinnitus has been around many, many centuries. Why has no one found a cure? Because there are very few audiologists who are also hypnotherapists.
Yes.
And
here we have a condition, and if I'm saying anything out of that's wrong, you correct me. Here we have a condition that is an auditory condition that is, represented in the brain, in the auditory cortex, whatever. But yet the solution to the resolution to it, as it were, lies in the deeper part of the brain where the emotions, the amygdala, the emotions in the amygdala, and the other faculties of the brain. So hypnosis or hypnotherapy specifically garners all these together and allows for the brain to heal itself. No?
Totally, absolutely. The brain has the ability to assess and file away and calm the whole system down. And as soon as the brain can put the tinnitus into its right category, brain's just like a librarian if you think on it, and it's got to file away the right thing in the right place. It does that. You don't even notice it's happening. I used to get people say to me, they would come in and they would say on the second visit, because I used to offer 6 sessions. After the second, on the second session, they come back. Do you know, it's funny, you were only talking to me, but I haven't noticed it so much this week. I'm having to look for it. Yes, because the brain automatically does it quietly in the background, files it away, and it's only through not hearing it that suddenly, I mean, the success was just unreal. Every single person, without exception, that came to me that had therapy using the technique I've just explained, completely got rid of their tinnitus sound. You can't actually get rid of it completely, as in completely destroy it. What you've got to do is you've got to, I always used to say to people, it's like a naughty little puppy looking for attention. It's constantly at you, wanting attention. You have to get that puppy back in its cage, because you need that puppy to come out when it's you want it to come out, when it's the right time to come out. So you've got to get control over that puppy, put it back in its cage, tell it to stay, and it will stay there until you're ready to let it come out.
Excellent. Now, Anne, as I said, there are 2 categories, I suppose, that this podcast would appeal to: those who are suffering tinnitus, and we also have the beg your pardon?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and we also have the hypnotherapists out there who may want to, be trained in this methodology, and maybe you talk to us about that.
Yep, absolutely. If you want to learn more about it from the hypnotherapy side, from the therapist who wants to learn more, contact the EAPH, because there is a register being set up right now for the people who have qualified as registered tinnitus therapists.
Yeah.
You go on that register, and what will happen is that the hearing aid audiologists in Ireland will all learn about this, because obviously I'm still in contact with a lot of them, but I will be pushing this with them, that we now have hypnotherapists who are trained up in tinnitus therapy. And what happens is that they will send people to them, because I can tell you that the hearing aid audiology business do not want tinnitus sufferers to come anywhere near them. In fact, the standard was, when somebody came in with tinnitus, what they would do is, oh no, it's somebody with tinnitus. They'll never be away from the door, because there's no absolute cure for them. A lot of the companies used to just stick hearing aids in and hope for the best. Stick mud, throw mud at a wall and hope some sticks. But all of them, without exception, hearing aid audiology is a science that is hard facts science. It's technology. Whereas tinnitus through hypnotherapy is the talking therapies. It's a different science. It's a different module, if you like. Yeah. Totally separate, mutually exclusive. One's in the business of selling hearing aids, fitting and selling hearing aids. The other one's in the business of healing.
Yeah, it's a holistic approach, isn't it, really?
It's a holistic approach, but it actually makes total sense when you stop and think about it, that, nothing works. Despite all the years, the decades of research that's gone into it, the brain has been prodded and everything done to it, and yet nothing conclusive has come out of it. Yeah. But if you make the link between the two, between the audiology and the talking therapies, suddenly it all makes sense.
Yeah. You have some sort of a resolution, as it were.
There's a resolution. And for
Yeah.
anybody who has tinnitus, then go see a registered tinnitus therapist. In Ireland, up until recently, I was the only person who had both the hypnotherapy and the audiology qualifications. In the UK, there was only 2 others that I knew of, because they are mutually exclusive areas to work in. So bringing the 2 together, we don't need an audiology qualification to become a tinnitus therapist.
Mm.
All we need to do is want to help people with tinnitus.
Yes.
And if you join the EAPH, you can go through you can get access to all the information you need, all the training you need, and there's somebody always available as backup, a phone call away or an email away, and that's me.
Yes.
Always on call for anybody who needs any assistance in that respect.
Yes.
As I said, 25 years as a hearing aid audiologist. I was a fellow of both societies, and I've been the EAPH clinical hypnotherapist since 2008. I started on the first course. So been around a long time. And while I'm still here, I would very much like to assist anybody who either has tinnitus, direct them the right way, or who wishes to learn how to use the tools.
Excellent. Now, Anne, if you forgive me, I know you touched on it earlier, you spoke about it, but just for somebody out there now who's suffering or experiencing tinnitus, what advice would you give to them now, just as we're during this podcast? What's the one thing, the sort of the do's and the don'ts, if you know what I mean?
Never, ever get yourself into a quiet space, because you will focus on it. You will sit and you'll hear your tinnitus, and tinnitus is only between 5 and 10 decibels above your threshold of hearing. That means us talking just now, the sound of my voice plus 5 decibels is the sound the tinnitus would be. So it's there, but it's not completely overwhelming. Okay. But if you are suffering from distress and tinnitus, what you'll do is you'll listen to that and not the voice. Okay. So anybody who's in the quiet, I would advise them not to be in the quiet if they can possibly avoid it, even if they've just got a radio in the background, or the Zen music, Widex Zen, and to practice that mindfulness, even if it's just a surface. Take the mind off the tinnitus by feeling the surface under the fingers, analysing it. Is it hot or cold? Is it warm? Is it rough? Is it smooth? Can I even imagine what colour it is without looking at it? Things like that take your mind off the tinnitus. And always, always look for things that are going to make you happy. That's until you see a registered tinnitus therapist, and you can see them by going on the site, European Association of Professional Hypnotherapists, EAPH. Go on the site, find one in your area. There may even be some of them that will actually do Zoom therapy. And within an hour, you can see the results. Yes. Something that has been suffered for years, potentially, and really destroyed your life. You're scared to go out in case the sound gets too loud for you to hear other people. You're never enjoying things because you're constantly worried about your tinnitus. No, you're not worried about your tinnitus. The tinnitus is a sign. It's actually a sign that something was wrong, whether temporary or permanent. Once you, I mean, by the time people look for help with their tinnitus, they've already been through audiologists, they've been through ENT, they've had brain scans, they've had everything completely checked out. So what they're looking for is some sort of relief. Well, the relief will come at the end of the first session. When you go away, you will actually start to feel the benefits. It'll come on slowly, but it will be amazing how it will actually resolve your tinnitus.
Yes. Excellent. Well, Anne Hogarth, this podcast has been worth more than gold, and not only to our members in EAPH and to the wider community of hypnotherapists, ethically trained hypnotherapists, but to people out there who are suffering, day in, day out, 24 hours a day, maybe in some cases, with this issue, this condition we refer to as tinnitus, or ringing in the ears, as some people may call it. So for that, Anne, I want to thank you on all their behalf, because as a result of your research and your vast research that we've all seen during the training, you have come up with this methodology and fashioned this methodology in such a way that it enables the sufferers out there, the many people suffering, to go to a ethically trained hypnotherapist is trained in working with people with tinnitus, this will become resolved. Of course, there's no 100% guarantee. There's never a guarantee about anything, but it is sure. It's almost a sure, fast way of doing it.
Yes. Can I add something else to this?
Sure. Beg your pardon. Go ahead.
The reason I used to give 6 sessions, offer 6 sessions, was because after the first one, the tinnitus was starting to become controlled. The second one, they would come back and report everything was fine. Third one, they would come back with the external issues in their life that were stressing them out, but the tinnitus is no longer an excuse for them to hold back on, so they come back with external issues that need resolved. And that's where it's just like a natural progression, because that can be sorted out as well under hypnosis.
Right, great. Well, Anne, this was wonderful. I thank you so much for that. I know you're held in high esteem by all the members in the APH and indeed all of the audiology community. So I want to just thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you until next time.
Oh, yay.
So, Anne Hogarth, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to the next time, so that we can have feedback from the therapists who have been trained and who can, show us the enormous results that they've been getting with this intervention. Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Aidan.
Well, that was none other than Anne Hogarth, bringing clarity, courage, and a whole new way of understanding tinnitus. Her approach is practical, evidence-informed, and most importantly, it works. If you're a therapist, it's time to think differently. If you're someone struggling with tinnitus, this could be your turning point. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, stay hopeful, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And take a look at eaph.ie, where professional hypnotherapists are waiting to hear from you right now.